Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to look at the contribution that Lord Farmer made in the House of Lords debate when Lord Blencathra moved his Amendment 97ZA. Now, I made an error in my previous videos because I thought I'd covered all the positive contributions, and in fact Lord Farmer was another positive contribution who was missed off my list. Some kind of error, entirely my fault. So Lord Farmer has supported the amendment, put his name to it, and he's also spoken out about it in the House of Lords during that debate. So let's watch his contribution.
Risks are properly balanced before a trans woman is housed in the female prison estate. First, I heard no mention of the consideration not just of physical harm coming to female prisoners, but also the risks of introducing high levels of fear and anxiety by accepting male-bodied, female-identifying persons into the prison. More than half of female prisoners have experienced domestic violence. We've heard that this evening already in the previous debate, the vast majority of which will surely have been at the hands of men. A case board investigating the risk a trans woman presents will not be looking through the filter of trauma, abuse and male exploitation, which many imprisoned women apply to their surroundings. I undertook several prison visits for my MOGA commissioned review of the female estate. As was typical, I questioned a panel of prisoners. On one visit, the de facto leader who dominated the proceedings was obviously male and not attempting to pass as a woman. This transgender prisoner might not have been exerting sexually charged and motivated power, but there was a palpable imbalance all the same. Second, Ministry of Justice policy is not in step, as we've heard this evening, with public opinion at all. A poll conducted by Women for Women UK found that when respondents were asked if intact male-bodied trans women should be housed in a women's prison, support slumped to net disapproval of -20%. Contrary to public perception, the overwhelming majority of male-born transgender people retain their penis and are fully male-bodied. Moreover, a 2016 meta-analysis established that less than 3% of the transgender population is undergoing any gender-affirming surgical or hormonal treatment, with the remaining 97% simply self-identifying with no modifications to their natal sex body at all. The argument that the noble and learned Lord Panic made that the trans woman prisoner, whom these policies are designed to protect, may have been living in their acquired gender for very many years, have had full reassignment surgery and treatment, passed perfectly as a woman, and have been convicted of a minor non-violent offence, and that to refuse to house this prisoner in the female estate would be wholly unjustified. But the statistics I have just given, and my own understanding and albeit limited experience of transgender prisoners housed in women's prisons, lead me to ask, is this description really characteristic of the population of trans women prisoners, including those held in the female estate? This example of a transgender prisoner seems divorced from reality and from the prisoners female offenders are forced to contend with on a daily basis. It is perplexing why prison policy is formulated to account for a situation that may never transpire, exposing female offenders to prisoners who are very far removed from that hypothetical. Rona Hotchkiss, a prison governor from Scotland, who as deputy in a men's prison initially pushed for trans women to be housed in the female estate, became deeply concerned at how this practice played out when she became governor of Cornton Vale. A prisoner transferred from the male estate when they identified as a woman, then re-identified as a man after a short time in Cornton Vale. Frustrated by the delay, whilst the Scottish Prison Service deliberated, the prisoner threatened to rape other prisoners and staff. Hotchkiss was deeply shaken, thinking, what woman threatens to rape other people, a crime for which a penis is required? And also, why should we take people's word for this? We don't for anything else. This, to me, strikes at the heart of the issue. We are giving the benefit of a doubt to people who identify as women, yet have all their male hormones and physicality intact. We are giving them access to female spaces, despite the benefits to and rights of women to have sex-specific prisons. This amendment has broader implications. It speaks to the necessity of upholding the fundamental rights and freedoms of women and girls on the basis of sex, not gender, as recognised in UK and international law. This is not simply a disagreement between the government and those of us who have spoken to the amendment. It is a difference in point of principle between the government and large swathes of the electorate, as polling indicates. Gender does not take precedence over sex. Males do not take precedence over females. The protected characteristic, gender reassignment, does not take precedence over the protected characteristic, sex. To summarise, in the prison context, male hormones and a male sex organ surely present considerable risk to vulnerable women for the varied reasons I give above, which include perceived threat to mental safety and actual threat of domination and exploitation, not just the objective risk of physical and sexual harm. I support my noble friend's amendment.
Yeah. So, lots of things to talk about in that contribution, which was very wide-ranging and very well informed, I thought. He talks about the risk assessment and how we can't actually we can't measure the impact of that feeling of fear and anxiety, which I think is so important, you know, because we have the right to women-only spaces for reasons of safety, yes, but also privacy and dignity, because we want them and because we fought for them. Now we've got them. We don't want to give them up. And it's lovely when you see that recognised. So I appreciate that. Thank you. He also has this experience of being in a room where a trans-identified male person, a man with a transgender identity, talked over a group of women when he was trying to do a consultation with a group of women prisoners, or rather, a group of prisoners in the women's prison, which included this man. So that's always good, because it's always really helpful for people to have actually interacted with the modern day trans movement. He also refers to reliable polling around public opinion, which is really important, because I think that sometimes these people are kind of in a little bubble where they believe that everybody thinks that, you know, this is the great civil rights campaign of our time, and that, you know, everybody believes that men can turn into women when they make a speech act that says that they are now a woman. And it's actually a very tiny proportion of the population believes that, and they tend to be the kind of overeducated, very liberal elite, because this is a luxury belief. This is not a belief you can hold when you're up against it and you're oppressed on the basis of your biological sex. It doesn't make any sense. So young people, women that haven't actually encountered maternity discrimination or any kind of major sex discrimination at work yet, yeah, some of them do believe this stuff, but we know better, don't we? Because you know, we were young once, many moons ago. It's lovely to see him using resources which were generated by women, so I really appreciate that. He used the Staniland poll. And I love the fact that he also talked about Rona Hotchkiss's experience as a prison governor. So I thought he was a very well informed contributor, and I really appreciated that. So in terms of his wider contributions, what I find that he speaks up in favour of is kind of what we would call family values. So he recognises like the state's role is to support families, and by supporting families we then support the individuals within those families. So I don't think he necessarily has a hyper traditionalist view of the family, as in no gay marriage and all that stuff. I don't think he's in that category. I think he's in the category of kind of what used to be called the One Nation Tories, the kind of the Conservatives who still recognise a role for the state in terms of maintaining the welfare of the population. So he intervenes in defence of children's rights not to be exposed to images of sexual abuse when they're online. So his understanding of safeguarding children is actually pretty good. He recognises the unfairness of including men in women's sports. And, you know, as somebody that's on a low income, I appreciate that he asks pertinent questions about things like the benefit cap, which affects a huge number of women because, you know, we're more likely to be living in poverty than men. We're more likely to have caring responsibilities and disability that makes it difficult for us to work. So I appreciate all of that, Lord Farmer. So I think there are a lot of points that we would have in common with him, and I think that it would be worth writing to him with a note of thanks. I've already written to him, and you know, if you are searching for things to say in that note, just to have a little think about what's in this video, because there will be things in this video that I've said that are his views that you may agree with, and those are always it's a good thing to put a kind of common point across in a letter to show that, you know, we support each other in this fight. And as you all know, since my correspondence back from Lord Blencathra, I am going really hard on this idea that we should all write, physically write handwritten notes where possible, and thank people who are getting involved in this debate and defending women's rights. So thanks for joining me for this video. Sorry about the shocking state of the lack of sleep. Bear with. Thanks for joining me. It's great to see the channel growing. I'm absolutely cock-a-hoop about it. Maybe developing some more kind of different types of content. I'm looking at doing some interviews or some collaborations. I'm looking at using the kind of live streaming and things like this if I can work out how to use it. So thank you all for your support. It is so appreciated. Please like, subscribe to the channel if you're a new visitor, share the love, and I'll see you back here again soon.